Welcome everybody. My name is Tom Devine. I'm with AVPro Edge, and today we're going to be talking about a really cool product. We are going to be talking about our 8K 8x8 matrix switcher that I have right here. We're going to get in depth on it today. I want to thank you guys for joining me, for being interested. Thank you for people showing up live in odd times across the country. Big shout out to you, Damien. And then also want to say, if you are listening live or even on YouTube later, you can just, anytime you have a question, put it in the questions tab in the GoToWebinar control panel, or you can just write it in YouTube at the bottom if you are watching this later. If you're watching this live, I can address it for everybody, but if not, we'll make sure that you do get followed up and we answer every single question. So we're going to be talking about this matrix switcher. And it's a really cool piece. And the reason that it's really cool is, AVPro Edge has quite a history with 8x8 matrix switchers. We were the first company to have a 8x8 18 gigabit per second matrix switcher. So we were doing that full 4K, that full HDMI 2.0 specification before anybody else. And now we are here, it's been 6 years since that time. And now we are outputting a 40 gigabit per second 8K matrix switcher with 8 inputs and 8 outputs. Being the front of our line, this is the only place you can get. And a lot of people may say, well, why 8K? Isn't it a little early? And our answer is no, it isn't too early. You need to prepare your customers for the future, for what is going to come. We already have Xbox Series X's, PS5s, computers, tons of graphic cards, and the Apple TV, and more sources will be continuing to push that HDMI 2.1 specification in different ways. And you need to have a backbone to your installation that can handle that as you add things to it. So this is really going to become the flagship 8x8 matrix switcher, and is going to be standardized through a lot of integrators as the 8x8 they put in, because it does just have so much more bandwidth that if you are using it with legacy devices, it'll work fine, but it is ready for those new 8K TVs and those new 8K sources. So that is why 8K is important. And with that being said, now I'm going to go into the presentation. We're going to learn a little bit. And, once again, if you have any questions, please let me know. I appreciate it. All right. I'm going to hide myself so I can do my presentation, and we'll share my screen here. Okay, you guys should be seeing the presentation. If you're not able to see that, please let me know, and we'll make sure that I can get that checked out. But as you can see, this is going to be the matrix switcher that you see. It has a screen, has some menus, and then has your inputs and outputs that you can select as well. But this is going to be built for 40 gigabits per second. It's an HDMI 2.1 device, so it's able to handle anything under FRL5. That includes 4K at 120 frames per second and 8K up to 60 frames per second. So when we came about this device, we are a company that builds for the custom installer, for the integrator. And so we wanted to have everything that the integrator would want in this device. And so that is why we have the 8K resolutions up to 40 gigabits per second, which is kind of the buzz thing. People want 8K. But more than that, we went much deeper than that, where we need to handle anything HDMI can handle, not just 8K. So that includes Dolby Vision, HDR10, HLG, any of those HDR metadatas. This unit can handle that and distribute it and amplify it to, going in on one input, and you could show it on 8 outputs, or you could have 8 different devices in this device going to 8 different displays showing all sorts of different content with different types of HDR metadata. This is completely HDCP 2.3 compatible, as well as all earlier versions. So you're able to use, on screen, you're able to, it doesn't matter if you may use a device that is a source that puts out 8K, it'll be able to handle that content protection. But if you also have some older device, you have some 1080p device running HDCP 1.4, that's no problem. It's going to be able to handle that as well. Can downscale from 1080p to 4K on every single output, and that's or, so it can go from 8K to 4K or 8K to 1080p or 4K to 1080p. Those are kind of your downscaling options. It does have de-embedded audio. There is no down mixing, so it can't take a multi-channel signal and convert it to a 2-channel signal, but it can de-embed 2-channel through its 5-pin Phoenix or multi-channel up to Dolby Digital through its Toslink out, and we'll get into that in a little bit. We have advanced EDID management. We'll go through that as well. AVPro Edge user interface. It's very, very important and beneficial, but so are the buttons on front. So I'll just show myself here again. I mean, these buttons that we have on front, these can be very, very beneficial, especially during setup. And now with our screen that we have, you can really just go through the entire device. It makes it very, very simple and easy. And we will go over all of that here. So. All right, now let's take a closer look at this device. We'll start up here in the top left corner, and whoops, moving too far ahead. In the top left corner, and we're going to look at that control box. So right away, you're going to see the kind of control you have. You have LAN control, you have RS-232 control, and you have an IR extension control. So this is going to be control that changes the switching, the settings, all the different API commands that we have for this unit can be sent through these 3 ports. And so you can connect to a control system directly through here. You can connect to a computer and send the commands. But this is where you're going to be able to control the unit if you're not using those front buttons. And this is mainly how our customers use it. They could connect it to a control system, and then their customers have some sort of control device that they would be able to select the different inputs and outputs, and our device would be hidden away so nobody can see. Throughout the top, you continue on to the right, and you get to see audio 1, audio 2, audio 3, as you see right here. And each one of these is a de-embedded audio port, and we have one for every single input. So what you can do is you can take the audio from each one of these individual inputs, and then you can route them in a different spot than where you have your outputs. So you can have these audio outputs, will look on that, but it has 3 different modes. You can bind all these to input, bind them to output, or matrix mode. When you bind them to input, that means that what comes in audio, the audio that comes in input 1 will be going out audio 1. When you bind to output, the audio that comes out audio 1 will come out goes out output 1 will come out this audio 1. But with matrix mode, it's however you want it to be. You could have audio 1 de-embed the audio from input 7. You could have audio 3 de-embed the audio from input 5, and so on and so forth. So it's really has a complete audio matrix inside. We'll kind of go over that a little bit, but it's a really beneficial tool for your custom installers who want to give their customers that control over audio to the maximum degree. As we showed those ports on the front, it also has 2 nice fans that you can control the fan speeds if you're worried about sounds. We also have some nice holes on the side so we can push that through, and we can keep all these components nice and cool, and it can run for a long time, including our warranty, 10 years. All right, so now we get into the connection diagram. This is basically just kind of, let's talk about how you set this up, right? You have 8 inputs, and you could have up to 8 HDMI sources. Each source would be plugged into one of these input ports. And then on the other end, we have our sinks. So this could be a TV, a monitor, a projector, but it could be also things like extenders or any other type, AVRs, any other type of device that would be connected to it. And then we have our de-embedded audio. But right here, now I can go in on maybe input 1, and then I can have that input be shown on output 2, 3, 4. I could go in on input 4 and have that be shown on outputs 7 and 8, and that's all controllable. You could go in on input 2 and have them all show input 2, and then with one simple command, switch them all so they're all showing a different signal. It's very, very cool product here. All right, we have a question that came in. I'm going to take a look here. Damien says, does this unit have the new Noctua fans that you were changing to? And it sure does. Great eye, Damien. Let's go back here. He probably recognized how this is a tan material. we are using Noctua fans in this unit, and those are the quietest fans in the world, engineered specifically for quiet. And what happened with that is computer fans were just a commodity. Everybody had computer fans, and they all just worked the same way on a bearing. Well, we know what happens when there's a bearing. Over time, the bearing can cause noise. It can cause noise right at the beginning, just maybe a little zzz. And so Noctua, engineering firm, engineered a fan without that bearing that can spin indefinitely and making no noise. So great point, Damien, those are in this unit. But let's say even that, you can even change the fan speeds because we put it all into the API for you. All right. For the audio connection, we just wanted to also let you know that we have de-embedded audio, and it will come with 8 of these 5-pin to 2-channel little dongles, so you can plug right into this Phoenix port, and then you have this very easy to use, the classic RCA type heads that you can plug into. But if you do want to do more than 5.1, or excuse me, do more than 2 channels, if you want to get to 5.1 and other Dolby Digital formats, you can always use this toss link right here, and then that can go into your distributed audio system. Maybe it goes into a different audio matrix, it goes into an amplifier, an AVR, to manage it however you wanted to do that. And so that's how you manage the audio. Now let's take a look at those front button commands. There's a couple different ways to command things. Most people we know are going to use once it's all set up, are going to use a control system. But for our integrators, for our installers, they may want to use the front button menus or the web GUI. So we're going to go over both of those here. So the web GUI will be off until you press any button. Once you press any button, you can get in and select the command. So we're showing right here just the switching. So I can switch input 2 to output 2, output 7 to input 1, and then I can select enter and it will make that change. With the EDID, I can select what individual input I want to manage, and then once I'm in there, I can scroll through 43 different options of EDIDs. These are the answers, basically, to the Build Your Own EDID tool that we have in the user interface. Through the audio section, now I have my audio matrix that is separated, where I'm able to choose which inputs go with which outputs, and I can also choose that audio mode. Remember, we talked about matrix mode, bind to input, bind to output. That's something that we can do right here with these front button commands. And then last but not least is our network. And this is where you can get a hold of this device, configure it for your system. You can find out the IP address, find out the MAC address. You can put this into your records, and it's a way that you can manage this switch on the network. And that's what we're going to show now, that you can see that you can change those IP settings. But now let's talk a little bit about that user interface, right? This user interface was a big investment from AVPro into ourself. In order to move from the type of interfaces we had in the past to this new user interface, we hired an engineer that was is top of his line, a great military guy. His name's Cody, and he was able to put together with his team up in Wisconsin an amazing user interface, and he continues to do great work for AVPro as an asset. And having Cody build this, we get a whole bunch of cool things that other integrators aren't even thinking about, or excuse me, manufacturers aren't thinking about, but the integrator is. These are requests we heard from the integrator, and our engineer Cody said, yes, we can make those things happen. So let's take a look at the user interface now that we have that time. All right. In my show. All right. This is the user interface right here. As you can see, I have security camera, computer 1, computer 2. I've renamed these. We have some zone, garage, kitchen, and that's all done in the configuration tab. So in here is where we can name that, and we'll get into that. But what we're looking at right here is just your classic switching. So this right here through input, the security camera through input 8, these are my input 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on my switch. And then these are my outputs. So if I want input 6 to show on these 4 outputs, I can just select that. And then on this computer, I can switch them so we have these outputs. And it's just a simple matrix here that you're able to switch the inputs to the outputs that you want. Now to configure those outputs, to configure the EDID, the scaling, the names, that's where we get into our in-out configuration. So with our in-out configuration tab, the first thing I see are our input settings. And so I can first name each one of my inputs, and then I get to choose my EDID. So I can kind of build my own EDID. Do I want to do 1080p, 4K, 4K 60, 420, 4K 60, 444, or do I want to do some 8K, some 4K, 120 signals? Since it's a security camera, we can leave it at 1080p, and we'll ask for 2-channel audio. We hit apply. How about for our next computer, though? We're going to ask for 8K, 3D, HDR, and 8-channel audio. We hit apply, and now we have built an EDID that's going to ask this computer for this signal. And you can manage that for every single one of your inputs. Now, how that gets really cool is with your video outputs, you're actually able to also scale individually on here. So like in this instant where we have maybe a 1080p signal and an 8K signal coming in, well, we might have a TV that can't handle 8K and it always needs to scale. So we could have it switch to 4K to 1080p. And if 8K comes in here, we'll also send that to 1080p. Or we can switch this just to 4K. Just from 8K to 4K. Or we can do no scaling to make sure that Kitchen 3 gets the full 8K. So however you want to configure your system, it's very simple here. You're also able to enable or disable, turn off this output, or run a test pattern if you just want to test your infrastructure beforehand. All right, then we have extracted audio options. Same with the audio. You guys saw those audio ports. You can rename them. You can turn them on and off. You can change the volume. You get some very simple controls with the configuration of that audio as well. All available here. With the system, we have, I have a question came in. So Michael had a question. Let's look. Does this, do you offer 8K extenders? We do not yet. Now we have some in the pipeline. We're hoping to show them very soon, but I do not have 8K extenders yet. For the time being, you would need to use HDMI cables, and we do offer different lengths in 8K HDMI cables. Great question though, Michael. But please be on the lookout for our 8K extenders. Our engineering team is working hard to produce them for you. Because you guys are at the forefront of technology. This is the first device like this. We already have a 1x4 DA scaler that has 2 outputs and 1 input, and we have a 4x2 matrix switcher, all that is doing 40 gigs, doing 8K. So we're really at the forefront of this. And as we keep on pushing this 8K messaging, we're going to build it out with all the other products, and extenders are definitely the top of our list next. Then we can go into our system design. We have, you can check your IP settings. You can set that up. You also can set up as an admin web interface. So you would be able to lock down any of the other system commands and the configuration and just have maybe your customer use an iPad and use this screen if you wanted to. Some different things that you can set up. You get to find out your hardware preferences. You can get over-the-air updates, that type of thing. Then we have the diagnostic section. This is where you can check each one of your inputs, and you can find out if the signal is ready, what EDID is coming through. Right now, I just have the switch hooked up with nothing in it. That's why you don't see a signal present. But this is where you can see all of those different things. And then here's your console. So this is where you can get into the actual switch, into the API commands. You can give it different API commands. I can ask for help, and it'll kind of, if I just type in H, it'll give me all the different things that I can look into for the switch and what's happening with it. This is all available. It just really makes it easier on the integrator, so he can put his system together. All right, and one of the main ways that you're going to find this is through the 8K home theater. A lot of your customers are going to say, hey, I just watched the shootout. Sony's 8K TV just destroyed everybody else. It's so nice. I want that for my home theater. Well, you can do that. We need to understand that, by updating that home theater, you may not have to update every single TV in his system or her system. Maybe they just want to have the home theater updated. Well, if you want it to still work with all of your existing sources, or if you wanted to plug more than one source in, you will need to still have the matrix switcher. By just upgrading the TV and maybe a source and using this matrix switcher, a customer can keep the rest of their installation how it is. Excuse me. And this works with all of the major sources that we're talking about today. So that's PCs, Apple TV, PS5s, Xbox Series X's. That's all happening today. So you can go on YouTube and you can watch a 8K video or a 4K 120 video. You can, if you have the latest Apple TV 4K, you can actually watch 4K at 120 frames per second. So there's a lot of YouTube videos, there's different Twitch things for gaming, watching gaming, as well as playing games on your PC, Xbox, or PS5. And that's all available for you today. So you don't have to clutter up your home theater with a bunch of consoles sitting around. You can still put those in the rack and have a beautiful looking system, but still have your, all the gaming that you would want right at the tip of your fingers. And then it's compatible with all AVRs and TVs and projectors. This is built for 8K. So if any of your customers are asking for those updates, this is the unit that you'd want to go with it. And then it doesn't just support 8K. We call this an 8K, but this is an HDMI matrix switcher. So it's going to handle 4K, 1080p, and other legacy signals as well. And we talked a little bit about legacy products, but they are all over. 8K televisions and 8K gaming consoles, they're a thing, and we have this Apple 4K. But that's not going to stop. The legacy products that you have, your old Roku, your old gaming consoles, your DirecTV boxes, your dish boxes, your cable satellite boxes, your antenna, anything that is still going to be able to work with your system. But you're going to also just be able to bring that same system up to the next level of video, and that's by adding some of those new HDMI 2.1 consoles. But it still doesn't mean that your whole system isn't going to work or you're going to have problems at all. No, this is going to be easier for you. So as your customers start to add more products to their system, they don't have to worry about it. They will be able to know that their backbone, their infrastructure of their video system is ready for that. And upgrade, we talked a lot about this right at the top, but one of the things I didn't really touch on this is that even though everybody's getting these 8K TVs and you might just get one 8K source and attach to it direct, as soon as you add another source in there, you can't have them connected at the same time because 8K displays only have one 8K HDMI input. Because the chipset to have an 8K input is much more expensive and the processing is much more taxing, all TVs that are 8K only have that one 8K input. The rest are 4K. So if you do have more than one device, you need to have a matrix switcher anyway, and this 8x8 can be that for you. And then it's ready for 8K products as you add them down the line. And I touched on it earlier, but nothing makes a customer feel better when they're going to use a new piece of technology like a 10-year warranty. You know that you have the customer's back, that if something goes wrong, you're covered. And we give that to you because we ensure that we're using the best components. We've hand selected each chip. Our engineers have run this through the ringer. Each unit goes through a QA process that we're very proud of. And so that's why we can offer this 10-year warranty to ensure that you guys are able to pass that on to your customers and feel happy about that. I have another question from Michael. Does the Toslink output 2-channel or Dolby 5.1 or both? Both. So Michael, how that Toslink, so let's look at the picture right here. This Toslink, remember, it's not going to convert it. So Michael, you don't get to choose that. You have to choose that with your source. So if you wanted it to be 5.1, you'd wanted to make sure your source can handle 5.1 and it got a 5.1 EDID, in its in the configuration. Then after it came out 5.1, you wouldn't be able to de-embed it. Let's say you were coming in input 5 and you're going out audio 5. You would not be able to get 5.1 through the Phoenix, but through the Toslink you can, no problem at all. Now let's say that if audio 5 had a 2-channel source going into it and you weren't going to use this, you still wanted to use Toslink, no problem. That Toslink is going to pass 2-channel absolutely with no problems at all. It's just going to also allow you to get those 5.1 signals up to Dolby Digital. So great question, Michael. I really appreciate that. And so now let's talk about compatible products. Even though I have my cables first, I'm going to start below with my 8K testing products from Meridio. So Meridio, they are the company to look for video distribution products. And as you're starting to add HDMI 2.1 signals to your system, you'll need to really know and understand what your system can handle. Can it handle 32 gigs? Can it handle 24 gigs, or can it handle 40 gigs, or can it handle 48 gigs? Those are all things that you will want to know as you try different cables and different sources over the next few years. And the way that you can stop by having to just plug things in, check, hope, pray. No, with Meridio, you know today. So you could get yourself an 8K Fox and Hound, an 8K 6G, 6A, or an 8K 7G, and you can start testing those 8K signals throughout your distribution systems so you know that when you leave the customer's house, everything is ready, everything is certified for those bandwidths and those higher signals that we can see today. And then I left it for last because it's most important. We are going from 18 gigabits per second with 4K to 40 gigabits with 8K with this matrix switcher. So what we have to do with that is have the infrastructure that can handle that, and that's HDMI cables. So you may not be able to use your big, you bought 10,000 HDMI cables 5 years ago that you're still trying to work through. Well, those cables probably will not work with 8K. So you need to ensure that you're installing quality cables. And so we're having a lot of integrators just standardize on our bullet train 48 gig cables. You can get those in different lengths for just our passive lengths. And then if you need to go super long distances, we can switch to AOC fiber and we can send HDMI very long distances and still make sure that you can handle any of the signals that can pass through a matrix switch like this 8x8. And that is all I have today. This, honestly, it's a little bit quicker of a class, right, guys? I'm only about a half hour in, but we have to remember this, this product, it's pretty simple, right? And if you are used to AVPro Edge in any way, you're kind of used to 8x8s. As you may know, we have many different 8x8 matrix switchers. We are a matrix switch company. That is how we really built our audience. And by giving stable distribution systems, we did it with 18 gigabits per second. Now we're doing it with 40 gigabits per second. We're going to continue that legacy to keep on pushing future to the, to the brink of breaking it so that we can, figure it out and go beyond that. That is the IO of AVPro Edge, and that's what we're going to continue to do, and we're doing with this product here by being first to market. This product, now we'll get a little bit to that. This is a launch, but we are not shipping this product. We still don't have a full stock of this product. So this product will actually start shipping in September. So if you are watching this later, if it's past September 2022, you're good to go. If you are watching this live, we have about a month to go before we will be shipping these out. We want to make sure that everything's ready, that all the drivers are ready, that you can day one go and give this to a Control 4 drive our customer, and then they're going to be able to use it. So that is all the things that we're doing right now, but we wanted to make sure that you know about it so you can start telling your customers, so your customers can start planning to input an 8K solution into their installations. All right, I'm going to check the questions tab one more time and see if we have anything else here. And make sure you get your questions in here while I'm still checking. All right. We have a question from Carlos. He says, great presentation. Is it possible to get access to this recording session? Definitely. We will put this on YouTube. That does take a couple days. But if you just email me directly with that request, Carlos, I can actually send you a link to the go-to page so you can even see this sooner. So that my email is tom@avproglobal.com. Give me send me an email, Carlos, and I'll be sure to send it right on over to you. So I really appreciate the question. All right. Looks like that is about everything we have. No other questions rolling in. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and we will see you on On the next training, know that we have tons of stuff in the pipe. So we're looking at audio products. We're looking at our 10 gig MXNet. We're looking at our 8K extenders. We're looking at fiber solutions, and be sure to check back with our newsletters on our website, through us on social media, and you'll be sure to stay up to date on all of those things. Thank you again for tuning in. You guys have a great day.